And welcome to another great episode of Framing New Heights. My name is Michael Hicks, the host with the most, and just finished my online church today. Just checked out the sermon by Pastor Craig. It was amazing. It was about tithing. However, today's episode title, drum roll please, is called Fear. It's a four-letter word. The silent thief of your identity and how to reclaim your power back. So, fear is the greatest storyteller in your life, and it never tells the truth. So today's episode, I'm really going to show you how fear has shaped your identity and how it's held you hostage for years and maybe your whole life, and how you can finally break free. So not maybe next week and not maybe January 1st yet. Today. Welcome to another great episode of Framing New Heights, the podcast where we turn your pain into purpose through my transformation, building setbacks into strength and fear into fuel. My name is Michael Hicks. I'm your founder of Liv2Thrive coaching agency, where I help people elevate emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, so that they can walk in true alignment with their God-given identity. So today's episode is brought to you by the following: Liv2Thrive coaching. I offer multiple opportunities to become your best self. I've got a 90-day reboot program. I've got a 12-month program. I've got one-on-one membership packages. So I want to talk a little bit about the 90-day reboot and chasing without becoming framework. If you're tired of chasing goals without feeling fulfilled, if you want more accountability, if you need more mental clarity, and maybe just emotional peace, you can join my signature program right now, which retails for $1,000. I'm selling it right now for $24. I'll have the link in the show notes, but it's chasingwithoutbecoming.live2thrive.com/chasing. So I'll spell that out. So chasing like the word, without like the word, becoming like the word, .liv, the number 2 thrive.com/chasing. Superfungummies.com is also one of my wellness formula partners. If you're struggling with stress, you're struggling with sleep, maybe even anxiety, just go check out their CBD products. You got to check it out. You're going to get better sleep. You're going to feel better on recovery. All you got to do is when you go to that website, check out any of those sizes that you want. You put 9 to 10 drops underneath your tongue before you go to bed at night, and you can get 50% off at checkout just by putting cap locks New Heights in the checkout, and you can change your life. All right, let's dive in. Fear is not an emotion. I said it only on Framing New Heights podcast. Fear is not an emotion. What fear is, it's an identity jacker. It's an identity hijacker. So most people think fear is the feeling of being scared. I'm going to go deeper than that. Are you ready? Fear is what I call a storyteller. Fear is a liar. Fear is a limiter. Fear is a barrier. Fear is the devil. Fear is a counterfeit voice that competes with the truth. Now, let me paint you a picture from a Liv2Thrive perspective. Fear is the image you've created of yourself. It's based on what's hurt you and not what shaped you. In fact, 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, however, of power, love, I'm thinking about this, and sound mind. So I think I got that pretty correctly. I didn't read it verbatim. Fear is also a spirit. Did you know that? It has a meaning. It attaches itself to if you're thinking. So I want to go in a little bit briefly about my story. I also have 2 episodes about my story on my podcast They're earlier in the season, so I think it's season 1 and season 2. You can check that out. After this episode drops, we'll be moving forward to season 4, believe it or not. I want to talk about my story, though. I grew up in chaos. I grew up with a mom and a stepdad literally beating each other. I got beaten. I'm writing about that in my book. I've gone through a marriage that was, I don't speak ill. It was not bad. It was not good. It just wasn't fulfilling for both of us. I, at a young age, was on welfare. We had food stamps, went to the store or the church to get the chicken and the turkeys and the free cheese. And, I watched my mom be abused by a man 15 years older than her, and literally vice versa. He was an alcoholic. So fear became part of my home. I even ran away at one particular time and got in trouble with the law multiple times of stealing and things of that nature. So fear became a home before I even had a home, right? And you know what fear told me? Fear told me some simple things. And those simple things were, you're not alone. You cannot succeed. You'll never be enough. And you have to prove yourself to be loved. Hence why I feel to this day, I still have to prove myself to everybody. Now, I'm being vulnerable here when I share this to you, even with basketball and my whole years of playing and being pretty good at the sport, then later on in life being able to coach it, is I always felt I was never enough. And maybe because my own mom never said that to me, or maybe it was because I never had a dad growing up. I always had to prove my self-worth, myself, and to be loved. And almost in today's society, or in the season that I'm in, we sometimes even still feel that, right? And that fear also followed me, like I said, in sports. It followed me when I earned athletic scholarships. In high school, I was one of 2 individuals in a small high school. Shout out to Sheboygan Lutheran High School, where my entire tuition was paid for. My entire books were paid for. All I needed to do is participate in 4 sports. And those sports were, because we didn't have football at the time, was cross country. Could have played soccer, but I was like, I'm not a soccer guy. It was cross country. And I even got, my senior year, I got suspended from running the state meet because I bought a hot fuzzbuster. If you don't know what a hot fuzzbuster is, it's a radar detector. And yeah, that's a whole new different conversation. But they followed me in sports. And even when I earned athletic scholarships, so I got this athletic scholarship. So I ran cross country, I played basketball, I did tennis, and then I did baseball. And it followed me even into adulthood, and even when I became a teacher. And fear spoke when I was teaching for a while, when a 4th grader punched me in the face. Fear isn't logical. Here's what I mean. Fear is historical. All right. So it digs into our roots of our past. So you know what? So it can control your future. You ever think about that? Like, why do we watch scary shows? Why do we watch the news? Because it's fear-based. We have this intrinsic, where our identity was bought on this stuff, on lies, on deceit, on fear. And that's why I want to share some stories with you, in not only my story, which I kind of briefly talked about, but also some of my clients, that how fear showed up. So I've coached hundreds of people in my professional basketball sector and just basketball sector, and even into my Live2Thrive transformation coaching agency. Here's what fear sounds like in real life. All right. Here's what it sounds like. I had one client particularly, and I don't want to give out any names. What they kept saying is, what if I'm going to use the word, which I don't use because this is their wording. What if I try and I fail? I would never use that word in a regular way because they're negative context words. And I got a podcast on that. So check that out. So that's a side thing. Underneath was, this is what they were saying underneath is, what if I fail publicly like last time? So we reframe it. And how we do that is, what if we succeed publicly this time? Got me so far? Another client, fear of rejection. This person told me, every time I speak, I hear my father in my head saying, I'm stupid. Right? That's not fear speaking. It's trauma replaying in your head. Right? So we reframe that. Another client, fear of losing control, which is anger. I was at a global summit meeting, and I met someone that said that they struggled with anger. They became one of my clients. So, high achiever, successful, exhausted. Sound like you? Fear wasn't, I can't do it. Fear was, if I stop doing everything, who will I be? Ooh. So fear can look like a multitude of things. Fear can look like overthinking, overworking, people pleasing, saying yes to everything, isolation, depression, perfectionism, anger, procrastination, staying busy to avoid the pain. Fear isn't always loud. All right. Sometimes it even whispers things like, not yet. Tomorrow. Start next month. We'll start on Monday. Or how about this, January 1st? Procrastination is fear. You ready for this? It's fear designed as logic. Yeah. Powerful, right? Scary too, all in the same sense. Let me continue. Why fear feels so powerful. Why does it feel so powerful, Michael? Fear is part of, like I talked about earlier, it is part of the structure of your identity. It takes a lot of work to overcome that. Because here's the deal. Fear offers safety. It offers control, or what you think. It offers certainty, and it offers familiarity. Like, people will be in toxic relationships because they're familiar with it. And even if that situation is so painful, their brain would rather stick with the pain it knows than facing the unknown of peace it doesn't know. Is that you? I'm reminded of a Bible passage, and I think it was Joshua 1, verse 9, where it talks about, be strong and be courageous, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Today's sermon today was about tithing, and one of my weakest spots, and I'm being really vulnerable here and sharing this with all of you that are my listeners, is it's been one of my biggest struggles. And I have been fearful of that. But yet he's gotten me through the deepest, darkest moments of my life. Yet I'm fearful to give him the top portion of my salary. Does that make sense? So becoming more alignment. Courage is, let me get back on track here. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's an alignment with God's presence. And that's something that I think we're always striving for. I know me as a coach, I strive for those things all the time. You know, fear isn't a sign you're weak. Fear is a sign You're human. You're raw flesh human. And often I use the reference of speaking like I am a man that's speaking raw of sin and human. And when your fear shows up, God can show up greater. Does that make sense? His calmness, or you not hearing from him, is him doing the work. Michael, how do I overcome fear? What do I need to do? I'm going to give you some application stuff here. So if you really want an application piece here that will really help you identify that piece right now is, how do I overcome fear? Here's where it is. You might want to save this piece or block it off at whatever time frame it's showing right now. But the first thing you need to do, and this is the Live to Thrive blueprint about breaking fear, is you want to name the fear. Fear thrives in silence, right? It's when we feel the scariest, right? Once spoken, it ends up losing its power. So I want you to ask yourself, what story is fear telling me right now? Is it saying you're not good enough? That was one of my biggest fears that I've had to overcome. Is it that I don't have enough faith? Struggling with tithing, it's because I don't have enough faith that God's going to provide. He deserves everything. Anyway, to begin with, our salary is not our salary. It's his to begin with. We're just giving back a tenth. We get 90% back, and those are all blessings. You ever think of it from that perspective? Number 2, on how to overcome fear. Trace the origin. Because, like I said earlier in this podcast, fear is historical. It comes from a specific moment. So ask yourself, who first taught me to be afraid? Who first taught me to be afraid? Was it a coach? Was it a parent? Was it rejection? Oh boy. Was it failure? Was it a traumatic moment? Who first taught you to be afraid? You're writing this down, obviously, scripting this. This is important. Now, the third one is replace the story with truth. Here's what I'm saying. So fear says, you're alone. I used to say this in a season that I was in. I don't have everybody, but you got somebody. God's with you. You got God. He's with you. That's the truth. That's the truth piece. So stop saying fear says you're alone. And this is almost for me. And God is with you. That's the truth. Fear says you're not enough. Truth says you're wonderfully made. In fact, I'll go even deeper. There's no one like you in this entire world. We can even go universe. Think about that. Out of all the people that are in this planet, in this world, no one is like you. No one looks like you. No one talks like you. No one thinks like you. No one smells like you. Good, bad, or indifferent. You know what else fear says? You're going to fail. Truth says, I'll give you strength. Here's one micro action that you can take place. So this is the fourth one, because action breaks fear's cycle. So whenever you're in any of those fears that I listed earlier, the Live to Thrive way is to say micro wins, macro momentum. I'll say that again. Micro wins, macro momentum. So one step. So maybe have this down as a vision so you can see this written down somewhere, scripting somewhere, on your mirror or somewhere. However, one step, one shift, one breakthrough. One step, one shift, one breakthrough. For me, micro win. Every single day, I wake up in the presence. I pray and thank God for my life. I asked Jesus for me to allow to walk in his footsteps. I pray affirmations that'll bless me abundantly through finances, through health, through wealth. Then I spend time in his word. And then I pray as much as I can. And then I work out. So one step is taking that first step. Can't see the future. You can see the first step, though. one shift, one breakthrough. It will happen. Don't quit. When you want to quit, that's the time that's going to happen. Number 5, anchor yourself spiritually. All right. Anchor. I talked about this. Anchor yourself spiritually. I'm going to break it down for you right now. All right. So when you anchor yourself spiritually, prayer is the antidote to fear's lies. Here's what I mean. Psalms 34 verse 4. Let me say that again. Psalms 34 verse 4 talks about, I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. Fear leaves when identity appears. That's powerful. Fear leaves when identity appears. Now, 6, Michael, I don't have any courage. I don't have any. Borrow courage until yours grows. Sometimes others see your strength before you even do. And this is so monumental here. This is why coaching works. All right. And not just from my agency, Live2Thrive, any coaching, but make sure it's a good perspective, a good, make sure that coach that you are hiring has a podcast and a YouTube channel. If they don't, they're not in authority of that realm, if that makes any sense. So sometimes others see strength before you do. This is why coaching works. This is why a community works. And this is why my Live2Thrive Facebook transforms people as well. And it's absolutely free. If you want more information on that, it's in the show notes. All right. I want to break down today I titled it The Final Story, right? The final story. And there was a client of mine who told me, Michael, I lived for 42 years and I lived being fearful and afraid for 42 years. And then one day she said, I don't want the story anymore. She didn't know how to get rid of the story. She came to me scared, uncertain, unsure. And here's how my framework, Live2Thrive, worked for her. She was able to set boundaries, and we need to set boundaries in our life, whether it's in our family, our work environment, wherever it might be. She began to heal from trauma. She honored her faith. She lost weight. She left that toxic relationship that's been haunting and daunting her because she felt unworthy. She lost her self-esteem. She regained her peace again. And she said something that I'll never, ever forget in the existence of my coaching agency. Is she said, I didn't become fearless. I became aware. Awareness is the key to building alignment. And that's when things truly can change to help you. So if you're struggling with fear, if you're struggling with your identity and you're struggling with your purpose and how to break free from all of those things, I hope all these stories today really encouraged you in the midst of this holiday season and blessed you and help you break through some things that maybe are stuck. Biblical truth can really empower you. It can set the standard for discernment and non-discernment, the real truth versus not the real truth. We talked about fear, what fear really is. We talked about how it shapes your identity. We talked about how to break free from fear. We talked about stories. I gave you client stories of courage and breakthrough. So if it spoke to you today, and if you're truly ready to stop living in fear and start living in identity, I want to offer this again to you. You can join my Live to Thrive workshop. My marketing team said $1,000. I have it to you for $24. $24. You can change and build momentum into the new year. That website again is chasingwithoutbecoming.live, L-I-V, the number 2 thrive.com/chasing. I'll also have it in the show notes if you want to take a look at that. Stop living in fear. Start living with purpose, understanding, clarity, love, alignment, structure, discipline, faith. It's a big one. Hey, special shout out to my sponsors as well at superfungummies.com. When you use that promo code New Heights, you get 50% off. As always, keep rising, keep healing, and keep framing for new heights. My name is Michael Hicks. I'm the host with the most. As always, 1% better every single day in mind, body, and soul. And always, you know the word, say it with me, stay flexed.